Hello friends, and welcome to Capital City Conversations presented by the Equity Boys. Capital City Conversations is an in-depth discussion on community development, promoting local businesses here in our area, and current events going on in Sacramento. In our first episode today, I'm excited to have my friend and our first guest, Carter Todd. Carter Todd is a bedside nurse in the Pediatric ICU and Cardiac ICU at a large Sacramento Health System. His route into the nursing profession has taken him through all levels of the California education system. After completing college athletics, Todd obtained an AA at the junior college level in Merced, California, then transferred to Sacramento State University, where he was a first-generation college graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Occupational Health and Safety. Soon after, he completed Samuel Merritt's ABSN program and was selected into the new Grad Residency Program of Nursing, Masters of Science, Nursing Leadership at UC Davis, where he founded and grew the Capital City Black Nurses Association. The chapter has grown with over 35 members, and Todd was recently selected into the inaugural Nursing Policy Institute held by the American Nurses Association to advocate and represent nurses in the state capital and Sacramento. He enjoys community outreach projects and spending all the amazing benefits that nursing has to offer. Carter, welcome.
What up, what up?
Thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
As you know, you're our first guest here
Yep.
at Community Conversations, and you're representing your CCBNA shirt. I really appreciate you being here, man.
Yes, sir.
I think we can just get it started. So my first question for you, man, tell me a little bit about yourself and your upbringing coming from the Central Valley.
Yeah, cool. So first I want to say thanks to Equity Boys and DJ having me on. I appreciate it. We picked a good day here.
Yeah, we did.
A little bit about myself, like he rambled off all of the intro. First generation college student, used to play ball a little bit back in the day. But I was very fortunate that, I had a vision of becoming a health professional down the road.
Sure.
Nursing had always been something that I viewed as with a lot of respect. And it was something that I seen would provide a lot of value for myself, not only from a monetary standpoint, but just feeling really good about what I'm doing from a job standpoint. So I moved to Sacramento. Back when I was 21 years old. I moved here with a backpack, a MacBook, and a motorcycle, and I crashed on my boy's couch for 2 months. Worked 2 jobs just to get on my feet here in Sacramento, and the rest is history. Very fortunate to get into this profession, surrounded by a lot of great people here in Sacramento, and that's how I linked up with DJ. He's been all around from the Bay to the Central Valley as well, and I've kind of known of this cat since just from playing ball and whatnot. So the fact that this kind of came together
It's amazing.
Right?
It's awesome.
So we got our running stuff on. We finna hit a run here in a little bit, see if he can hang with the
About to
old
hit
man.
the streets. Awesome, man. And again, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I kind of want to ask you a little more. At what point in your life did you kind of find yourself getting an interest in going to the medical field? And what influences or people in your life kind of pushed you down that road?
Yeah. A lot of people say that nursing is a calling for them. For me specifically, nursing didn't stick out as that one carrot at the end of the road.
Right.
Probably until I was 19, 20. Being a young man in the Central Valley, it doesn't necessarily feel right to say nursing in high school. So I remember I actually read a newspaper article from an interview I did about what I was going to be when I grew up, and I said a paramedic or a firefighter. And looking back, I think I said those things because they're more, stereotypically appropriate for men.
Sure. Yeah.
But I knew I always wanted to work with people, and I liked the adrenaline rush of helping people, right?
Yeah.
So I volunteered in a couple hospitals here in Sacramento when I first decided that this is the route I wanted to go. I went to a local emergency department, and I really got my feet wet and understood, like, okay, A, I have the stomach to be able to do this. And then B, I was around the nurses and seeing how amazing and dynamic the profession was. And that really solidified, okay, I'm in the right path, I'm going down the right road. And it's been a wrap ever since. I work in the Pediatric ICU, so for those of you that don't know, we get patients from age 2 days all the way up to adolescence, so like into the early 20s. And it was the best of both worlds for me. I'm a big kid at heart. I like being around children. I think they're the purest human beings on the planet. So to be able to take care of kids, but then also in the ICU standpoint where people, it's very critical. It's no joke. It's life and death situations. So I felt like that was the beautiful blend of what I wanted out of the profession. I've been there ever since. I've been there for about 4 years, ever since school, and I just feel really fortunate that I have the opportunity to take care of people.
That's amazing, man. And one could get into your profession and feel good about what they do, but you took it a step further by advocating for a very specific demographic of people. And with that being said, you founded and you're now president of the Capital City Black Nurses Association.
Well,
so talk to me a little bit about how that kind of came to fruition and what the future plans hold for the organization.
For sure, man. So, first generation college student for myself. I had a lot of friends and family that fell off by the wayside by being knuckleheads. I was a knucklehead at one point. So as soon as I got on, I wanted to turn around and help other people, right? So even if it's not someone in my direct circle that I could, give a positive path to, I at least wanted to help the community. As you all know, the African American community has been decimated by lack of healthcare, lack of resources, lack of adequate education for a long, long time. So I always viewed that nursing could be the venue by which we could, lift up the community in that aspect. I was very lucky to make it to become a nurse. There's a lot of hurdles that you got to jump through: financial, academic, psychosocial. So I was very happy when I became a nurse, to say the least. As soon as I got on, I wanted to turn around and bring other people with me. And by doing a nonprofit and creating more momentum bigger than myself, I was able to make that happen. So out of the blue, the national president of the MBNA actually called me on my cell phone and said, "Hey, you see you're in Sacramento and we need a chapter there." So as any great successful person will tell you, whenever a door opens, you always have to go through it. No matter if you think you're ready, if you think you're capable. I have no business background. I've never started a business. And I was fairly new in the profession. I think only 2 years as a nurse when that happened. But that little breath of life sparked everything. So I went from that conversation to being chartered on a national level, gathering about 15 nurses here in the community. And then about 2 months later, I was in St. Louis, Missouri, getting chartered and presenting my thesis research on a grand scale. So it all happened pretty quickly. It's Capital City Black Nurses, as was discussed. We've been here for about 2 years now. We have a lot of different programs that we take part in. Educational outreach. We're in a lot of the high schools and middle schools. We have a lot of mentorship, professional development for our black nurses here in Sacramento. And it's really exciting because we continue to bubble. We're at a 200% growth rate from last year.
Wow.
This time last year, we had no social media presence whatsoever. We have over 2,100 followers on our Facebook. And things are just really on the up and up. And that's just a credit to the good team that we've been able to put together.
Absolutely, man. I think it's really important because the lack of representation in the medical field was something I wasn't entirely aware of prior to us setting up this conversation. And in my research, I found a statistic that was really eye-opening to me, which was from the Harvard Business Review, stated African Americans make up 13% of the United States population, only 4% of United States doctors, and less than 7% of all United States medical students. With that being said, considering the lack of representation by the African American community in the medical field, why do you think we are underrepresented, and how can we continue to promote our youth to bridge that gap?
Yeah, it's shocking when you hear those numbers, and it makes me disheartened as well because through my research, I found that most of the people I get seen in the hospital are people of color, so Hispanics, Asian Americans, Black Americans. So to have more of our folks being seen in the hospital setting and having even smaller representation of people to take care of them, it's a formula for the current climate that we have and the disparities that we have in healthcare. I remember when I did my thesis research on creating more African American men representation in the nursing profession. So what I found was that a lot of the barriers to getting people of color into either nursing or becoming a physician, it revolves around mentorship.
Sure.
Having someone that looks like you, that understands your journey, that can support you, because going to school is hard. I don't care who you are. You're going to hit some stumbling blocks. You're going to hit some hurdles. I mean, when you're 19, 20, if you're older than that now, think back to when you were 19, 20, and the kind of decisions you were making, no matter who you are. So you need people to help you get through that. Another big hurdle that I found was financial barriers. So a lot of people of color have to work while they're in school.
Yeah.
For myself, I went to nursing school full time and I still bartended full time. So I was working 36 hours on top of clinicals, on top of going to school, and it was a grind to say the least.
I can imagine.
It was difficult. So that is a huge barrier for a lot of people. And then being first generation college students, right? Filling out the FAFSA is a brand new idea. When I filed out financial aid my very first year out of high school, I thought it was free money. I thought it was free money.
Yeah.
Financial aid, that's how I took it. So that's a drop on my parents, that's a drop on my high school counselor, that's a drop on my entrance counselor into college. And you can just see that Swiss cheese model, there's a lot of holes that you can fall through. So I feel like the communities of color, we need more organizations like Capital City Black Nurses. We need more people who are focused on seeing young people succeed and helping people, not just telling them they can do it, but actually showing them the path. You know, it's not just A, B, C, it's A through Q. Yeah. It's a long journey, and we can do it. We're more than adequate. We're more than capable. We just need a little bit more help sometimes.
That's absolutely right, man. I just think, like, come back to this fact that I always preach, is that talent is spread out evenly.
Yeah.
It's the opportunity to harness that talent and utilize the skills that are inherently inside of you that not everybody has that opportunity to have. And that's a big part of why I started Equity Boys, because I really feel that, you know, if we give somebody an opportunity, they could run with that and change the path of their generational cycle. Because not to get too much into what I'm doing, but our stuff is focused on financial education and bridging that gap on financial literacy that we don't get in our public schools.
Yeah, it's huge.
And that's, in that same breath, as you said, college applications, FAFSA, and just surrounding yourself with people who have done the things that you aspire to do leads one to believe that it's actually an opportunity for them and not just a dream. You know, so that's why I really appreciate what you guys got going.
I mean, how many? Everyone knows that one person that could have been or should have been.
Yeah.
Right. They had tremendous talent, and not from like an athletic standpoint, but just a capacity viewpoint. They had tremendous ability, but it was squandered for some reason.
Yes.
So knowing those situations and seeing the position I'm in, I want to make sure that those people can thrive moving forward, and they're everywhere. Whether it be in finance, whether it be in healthcare, there is a tremendous talent everywhere, and hopefully organizations like ours can find those people.
That's right, man. So I want to kind of take a turn here for a little bit. Obviously right now we're here in the midst of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. California is one of the most high liability places for such a pandemic, considering our population, considering the travel that has come from Asia primarily to California versus other parts of the country. My question for you is, considering the lot of misinformation that we see out there every single day regarding COVID-19, and as somebody who's on the front lines of it on a daily basis, what are your thoughts on COVID-19? And a follow-up to that, as we begin to open our community back up, what would you like to share with the people in our community about how to address it going forward?
Yeah. So that's a big question. So I'm gonna do my best to represent myself always, and then just speak a little bit more globally. So I'll start with California. California as a whole has done a great job. I think that when all is said and done, when we look back at the way that Governor Newsom has handled the stay-at-home orders and the actual statistics of people who have COVID-19 and who have died from it here, we've done a great job of flattening the curve. Sacramento as a whole is, I think, one of the top 2 or 3 metropolitan areas in the nation when it comes to the statistics for how many people actually have COVID-19. So it looks a little different for us here. So the conversations that we have, it's not necessarily representative of the whole country, right? What we're experiencing here is not what they're seeing in New York. So from someone who is in the community, who doesn't know anyone who's had COVID-19, who hasn't ever met anyone who's had it, and all that the only experience they have with it is that they're getting a financial loss and they're getting their rights taken away. It's very difficult, and I can appreciate that. Me, however, I have colleagues in New York. I have firsthand accounts of what it's like for people who are working on the front lines, who are fighting this head on, and it is scary, and it is no joke, and that's why all these measures have been taken, because of what can happen in the matter of 4 or 5 days. That's what I have there.
And then I get my follow-up to that would be, as our communities can start to open up and loosen some of these restrictions in regards to stay-at-home orders, what is some advice you would like to give and share with the community about how they could proceed going forward while looking and excited for the future and being able to get back out there and do the things they like to do?
Yeah, I've been saying I feel like a lot more people will be literate in healthcare moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So the whole basics of hand washing. Hand washing by itself can stave away a lot of pandemics and a lot of illness just by itself, and learning how to appropriately wash your hands. So I think people are going to be more conscious and cognizant of when they're sick themselves, when other people are sick, and how to move around the communities. If you look globally at other countries, Southeastern countries where they've had pandemics before, Southeast Asian countries, they wear masks, and they were a lot faster to implement these, interventions to make sure that it didn't bubble. So I think that now in the United States, this is our first experience with it. So it's been jarring and it's been hard for us to swallow, but we are going to reopen, right? And we're going to need to go back to the grocery store. We're going to need to go back into the community. So I think that people need to do so using their common sense and thinking about how they can impact the people next to them. And that's a hard thing to do because you have to have empathy, right? Even if you're a young, healthy man, you're in shape, and you're not going to necessarily be a high risk category for COVID-19, you have the capability of infecting somebody else.
Sure.
So I think moving forward, we're all going to move around in a more educated fashion when it comes to disease and illness. And this is an opportunity for us all to move in the same direction at the same time. It's been a while since we've been able to do that as a country, right?
Yeah.
Since 9/11. 9/11 was a very cohesive event. It was a tragic, terrible event. Fast forward 10 years, COVID-19. It's been it has the opportunity to be a cohesive event where we all move forward together. And I hope that that's what comes from all of this.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, man. It's odd that it seems like the disease has become such a divisive point for people right now. It's like those people who feel like they should move forward and go out and live their lives are labeling themselves as like freedom fighters, and then those who are saying stay at home are labeling themselves as, advocates for the people and older communities. And it's like it's become so divisive. It's really just like it's alarming in a lot of ways, and it's pretty eye-opening to the state of our country right now. But I appreciate your insight. So back to you and what you kind of got going on. I mentioned in your intro, you were selected to the inaugural Nursing Policy Institute. Tell us a little bit about the organization and the goals of that organization for the future.
So the American ANA is the global brand for nursing professional development. They are a global brand. There's a chapter here in California that works in our backyard, the state capitol. So I was selected as the inaugural group that's going to be representing policy, change, and advocacy at the state level. So we'll have interactions with state elected officials here in California. We'll have the opportunity to sit in on hearings and meetings and see some of the bills as they come down the pathways that will impact healthcare, specifically impact nursing. With that being said, Capital City Black nurses, myself, and people that I've surrounded myself, we view and understand how important the nurse's voice is in this whole machine. Healthcare is important, right?
Yeah.
My own philosophy is there's 3 pillars of community, and that's education, housing, and healthcare. And we have the opportunity and responsibility to advocate and to speak up for people who might not have the voice to do so. So this program is going to help develop my skills in that arena. I'm a new nurse. I'm a new professional. So I have a lot to learn. So I'm very honored to be taking part in that. We should have already been rolled out. I think the first conference was supposed to be April 20th. We all got, the devastating news.
Sure.
Everyone's taking a loss, right?
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate that my loss just came from missing a conference. Other people are, being impacted a lot more severely. So I can't even
perspective.
complain. Yeah. But we're going to be starting up next year. I'm excited to do so. So you'll be seeing me, pushing a lot of bills and be having a lot of handshakes and smiles with a lot of really important people. So I'm really honored to be doing that.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
And like you said, I don't think your lack of experience, I say lack, you have 4 or 5 years as a nurse this time. But I think you can provide a fresh perspective that others may not be able to bring to the table. Not only with the CCBNA, but being from your background and your experiences that you came with this far, I think you'll be able to provide some great value to that.
Thanks, man.
So I want to shift a little bit. So you are a father. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have a couple ones in the playroom right now. As a father, how has that shifted your focus, and not only as a man but as a professional?
Yeah. So I started having a family a little bit later. So I was 28 when my kids came. I have 2 kids now under the age of 2, so we're busy. I think having kids is very grounding, and I appreciate how much work it takes. You only get one shot to raise children and create the next generation of human beings. I take it as a huge responsibility to do so correctly. I had really great parents who instilled a lot of great values and morals into myself. I hope to be able to do that for my children and some. So from a nursing standpoint, I hope that they see dad as a nurse, but at the biggest scale possible, because I want them to think and to dream on that level, that they are capable of doing anything. And it all just starts with conversations and meeting people, and all the great things in my life have came about just by putting myself out there.
So true.
By becoming educated and by caring for others. And I know that nursing is a catalyst for all that. It's built into my job to be nice and to be compassionate. And being a nurse makes me a better father, without a doubt. Being a nurse makes me a better person in the community. And I just feel that the timing was right. I'm very fortunate that my 2 kids are healthy and happy.
Yeah.
I have a phenomenal wife. She's holding it down as always. And I'm just excited to go through the journey. It's hard, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, wait until you're ready, and you're never going to be ready. But it's been probably the biggest blessings thus far.
That's great. That's great. So let me ask you this: what do you like to do in your spare time? And where do you like to spend your time? The small time you have. Off?
So we're busy. I usually, honestly, probably have 2-3 hours to myself on a day, and that's maybe on the big end. So recently I picked up running, so you can see we're all fitted in our running gear here.
Yes,
What's
sir.
the name of the group?
Hustle and Motivate.
Damn.
Shout out to Hustle and Motivate Instagram group.
Hustle and Motivate. So we've been on this running kick since about January, February.
Yeah.
But after my second baby, I took a picture and I looked and I had my shirt off, and I think I was coming in like 240, 245,
Hefty.
like in November.
Damn, 240.
Yeah, dude. In like November. So I wanted to get back in shape. So I started running. That's what I do a lot of the time now. If I'm not running, I'm golfing. If anyone knows me, I'm a professional dad golfer. That means I'm terrible. But I run, I golf, and I like to network, man. And my free time is usually spent working on CCBNA, working on my craft, and trying to better myself. And I feel like that's a good way to spend your free time if you're trying to help out others. So fortunately, I have a couple endeavors that are self-righteous and a couple endeavors where I'm able to give back.
And when you love the work you do, it doesn't feel like a job.
Not at all, man. Like, I come home, I get on my laptop, and I get to correspond with people within the profession. I get to meet with people throughout the nation. I get to interact with folks like yourself. It's a lot of work, but I mean, my plate's full because I'm hungry. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? So
That's
it's
right.
all good.
Okay, so another question for you. What's on your playlist right now? What kind of music you listening to?
Future dropped last night.
That Future drop.
Future dropped last night. I listen to trashy music. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Okay.
A lot of trashy Bay Area music. I like
Shout out the Bay.
The Bay. Whenever I'm running, I like to listen to things that pump me up. Sometimes I give a nod to my rock side. Whenever we're cooking, I like to listen to either reggae or jazz. And mostly it's about whatever the mood is. So
Sure.
I'm a mixed background, black and white, so that's kind of where my music goes. It goes all over the spectrum. So
I know that.
There's no telling what's on my playlist.
All right, I got 2 more questions for you, and this one we're going to call the 111.
All right.
Give us one book, one quote, and one person or business in Sacramento that you'd like to shout out.
All right. One book would probably be the super cliche book, but amazing if you haven't read it, is The Alchemist. I was talking with DJ offline before this. We actually both went to Thailand at different times in our lives. I read that book in flight to Thailand on the way, and the way that book sat on where I was in my journey was, it was just really aligned and really special. So The Alchemist for the book.
And the quote?
A quote. What is it? I will unite with anyone to do right, I will unite with no one to do wrong. That's Frederick Douglass. That's
Amazing.
what on the footer on all my work emails. And that just in essence says, if you're doing good work, everyone can get some of it, right? No matter what background you are, no matter what color you are, no matter what socioeconomic status you're at, unite with anybody to do good work. And if no matter who they are, if they're not doing good work, stay away from them. You know, if we can all just focus on good energy and good positive outcomes, we can make some good things happen.
That's amazing, man. Can you give us that quote one more time?
Yeah.
One more time.
I will unite with anyone to do right. I will unite with no one to do wrong. That's Frederick Douglass.
That's beautiful. And in your own personal, one person or business in Sacramento that you really like, that you just want to shout out?
Yeah. There's a lot of great small businesses right now that are hurting, so I just want to give a nod to them, and we see y'all. Everyone go out and support your local businesses, whether it be from a restaurant, go do some takeouts, order some extra orders of...
And let me add to that too. Those of you guys that are out there ordering from these restaurants locally in the area, try to reach out to them directly for your orders. If you're going through Grubhub, if you're going through DoorDash, we all have a coupon. It applies to that. And you see, after everything gets taken out, these restaurants aren't making as much as they should for that meal. So if you have the opportunities there, you know, try to see what you can do about ordering directly from the restaurants or the local businesses during this time. From a restaurant standpoint, I gotten fixins a couple times over there on Broadway, a little bit of soul food. So that'd be the restaurant shout out I want to give. A person that I want to recognize is Dr. Jan Marie Garcia. She's a professor at the Betty Irene School of Nursing. She's a pediatrician by education. She's a community activist by trade. She's an amazing woman. She has a published, beyond belief, academic, but more so, she's just a humongous mentor in the Black community, in the young professional community. She's done a lot for myself, for a lot of people that I know. So I just want to give her a shout out. Her birthday was just passed. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Dr. Garcia. So we see you. Happy birthday, Doc. Yep. And finally, where can we find more about you and your association? So ccbna.org is our website, built it from scratch. You can catch us there. You can follow us on Facebook, CCBNA, Capital City Black Nurse Association. We put out a lot of information and resources, and it's coming from people who are educated in the profession. So as we talked about earlier, it's difficult to get accurate information, particularly about COVID-19. So feel free to cruise through our website. There's a lot of resources that we'll let people tap into. Another way to get a hold of us is our Instagram, Capital City Black Nurses on there. If you want to see me, I'm everywhere. Nurses are everywhere. I work at a large hospital here. You can go onto our website. My number's on there. I'm always open. I'm excited to talk with people about the profession. And anyone, you don't have to want to get into nursing, but if you're a young person trying to figure out your journey, I do mentor and talk to a lot of people on the side, so feel free to reach out. Well, Carter, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Our first episode of Capital City Conversations. I thought it went amazing. Yeah, man. A couple technical difficulties, but we're going to continue to work it out. Me and Carter about to go hit 4 miles, right? And shout out to DJ, y'all. He's doing this. This is a young brother that's, you know, not just about making money, but it's about making progress. And I feel like that's the true measure of someone's success. Thank you, man. And he's a young cat in the game. Equity boys, they're here to stay. They're doing good work as well. So if you guys are watching this, make sure you tune into the rest of them, as I will, to see what else he has cooking. Thank you, man. Appreciate you being on. We're going to go get these miles in. Peace.